we can't talk about your biggest matches without talking about, this might just get an applause before we even talk about it, Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. I mean, he just come back and done the match with Triple H, but then he does this with you at WrestleMania, and I mean, you couldn't really ask for anything better, right?
Yeah, he had no intentions of wrestling after that one match he had with Triple H at SummerSlam, and we had just done a one-off highlight reel in December where he was. I had him on the highlight reel, and I started burying him, saying he was an old man. He was 39 at the time. Think about that. And then he ends up super kicking me. And that's the end of the segment. That was all it was supposed to be. We go to the back, and Vince is there. He goes, "You smell that?" No, what? Smells like money. So he then decided that he wanted to do Jericho and HBK at WrestleMania. And Shawn was like, if I'm going to do a WrestleMania, because keep in mind, he's Mr. WrestleMania, right? He had the best string of WrestleManias ever to this day. And he said, if I'm going to do one, I'm going to do it with Jericho. And we did the storyline of kind of the student and the teacher, where the teacher becomes more evil and then wants to kill the student, like every karate movie that you've ever seen. And it's funny because on the build-up, I had ripped off spots from Shawn throughout my whole career. And in the build-up for that match, we showed side by side a high spot that he did at SummerSlam that I did with Lance in my very first match, where? In Pinoca, Alberta, at the Moose Hall. Up and over, hip toss, reverse victory roll, which is now called a Frankensteiner. So they showed those side by side. So we had everything built up. It was a great build. The story was there. The anticipation was there. The history was there. And now we just have to put together the match. Now, when you do a WrestleMania match, they have rehearsal times where you go to a ring that's set up, or maybe it's the ring in the stadium, and you go over your match. And they have kind of a docket where you go and put down, okay, Thursday between noon and 2, Jericho and Michaels. Let's say that's what it was. So about a week before this, I was in a sporting goods store buying a black pair of Speedos, Speedo tight little bathing suit to wear underneath my wrestling tights, which now you know what I wear underneath my wrestling tights. There you go. See the stuff you find out here on Inside the Ropes. It's amazing. And I was there looking at these, like, what size am I? Am I medium, an extra large? And then I was like, wow. And this idea hit me. And then another one hit me. And they just all, like dominoes, just like. I went up to the lady at the cash register. Can I please borrow a piece of paper and a pen? You have to make sure you give my pen back. Yeah, I'll give it back. How am I going to know you're getting my pen back? Just give me the pen. And I start writing the stuff right in front of her so she can see that I'm not going to steal her pen. And I just write down idea. On the back of it's called Dick's Sporting Goods. On the back of a Dick's Sporting Goods receipt printout. So I take it to the stadium where we're having our practice. Noon, Thursday. Our match is on Sunday. I sit down. Shawn sits down. And he asked me, "You got anything?" I can't do a Shawn Michaels accent, but maybe it's probably better than my Irish accent. "You got anything? You got anything, kid? Any of that artsy-fartsy stuff you like doing?" And I said, "Well, I got an idea for the beginning of the match." And he goes, "Wow." And I said, "Do you got anything?" He goes, "I have an idea for the end of the match." I show him my idea for the beginning, which is about 20 ideas in a row. He shows me his idea for the finish, which is about 20 ideas in a row. We both agree. We both shake hands. See you later. We're up and out, gone in 10 minutes. And that just shows the true art of wrestling. We didn't practice anything. We didn't go over anything for hours on end. 10 minutes, 2 pros who know exactly what they need to do, and we had never been in the ring before. We had never touched ever until that match. And so that's, to me, one of my favorite matches, and still pops in my head when you say, "What's your favorite?" 2 last stories before you clap. There's people that were saying at the time that the 2 best matches were Jericho and Shawn and Brock and Kurt Angle. And Shawn kept hearing that, and he goes, "I don't understand it." Remember, this is where Brock did the shooting star press and landed on his head? He goes, "How can their match be better than ours when the finish was Brock Lesnar landing on his head?" Doesn't count. We win. And then we go backstage, and Johnny Ace is back there. He was our agent or the coach of the match, and we had 25 minutes, and we went 29. And I don't even know what the f- Johnny was thinking, but I remember one of the first things he said was, "You guys went over. You went 4 minutes over." And Shawn goes, "Hey, when you have a 5-star match, you can tell me that I went over. Until then, shut your f- mouth." There's the arrogant HBK that I've been waiting to see. None of this Christian guy.
Born again Shawn Michaels. But you know, it's funny because you have that Shawn match for WrestleMania 19, and then in 2005 you leave, you take some time off, and when you come back, you're kind of still doing the Y2J thing, and it's like maybe like a little transition period. And what changes things and changes your character is this feud with Shawn Michaels, which is iconic, and it culminates in the No Mercy ladder match. I mean, it's got to be wild for you that, you know, you had this kind of dream scenario where you work with somebody you looked up to, and now you get to do it all these years later and top what you did before.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, once again, reading the room. Like I said, when I came back as that Y2J character, I remember Don Callis asked me, because I had short hair at the time, because I'd been gone for 2.5 years, and he said, "Are you going to get hair extensions?" And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, Y2J has long hair." And I was like, "Who cares? Who cares if, like, you know, Bruce Dickinson cut his hair and James Hetfield cut their hair?" Well, he was right. Y2J came out with short hair, and there was a disconnect. And then I realized very quickly, this is a nostalgia act, and it sucks. Like, it's not good. Which started a long history of me constantly evolving and changing whenever I feel myself getting into this nostalgia zone. I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I love the fact that, you know, people love the Y2J gimmick or love the list or love all these things. But when they say, you gotta go back with the list, no, it's done. It was a great moment in time, and now I think of other stuff. So that's kind of what started this. And then when I decided to turn into the suit and tie guy heel, which was a combination of Nick Bockwinkel from the AWA, one of the all-time greats, and Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, which is a Coen Brothers movie that I think Javier Bardem might have won an Oscar for playing this evil serial killer who never yelled. He just talked very low. And just, this is what's going to happen. Very matter of fact. I can't help myself. You have to flip the coin, and if you get the wrong side, I'm going to murder you. There was no yelling and screaming. And I came out and talked like that. And I remember when I first started doing that, I'd be talking really quietly, and they'd say, "We can't hear you." And that's when I knew I had them. Because now you have to really pay attention to what I'm saying. You really have to listen to what's going on. And by the way, that "what" chant was at its apex right there. I never got it once. Because people couldn't concentrate on yelling "what." They had to concentrate on what I was saying. So I would talk really low, and this is going to happen. So it really created this whole new heel character. Now, once again, though, if you don't have a great dragon slayer, there's no need for a dragon. Shawn Michaels is the ultimate babyface. He's the ultimate heel as well. That's why, in my opinion, he's the greatest of all time. But as a babyface, there is nobody better at connecting with the audience, at selling, at making people feel what he's feeling. And that's why this whole feud started. Because originally, it was just supposed to be a 1-month feud. Then we're like, what are you doing in a month? Nothing. What are you doing after this month? Nothing. Then why are we rushing this? Let's continue. And that's how we created this whole 7-month program, which in my opinion is still one of the greatest stories of all time. And Blackjack Lanza, God bless his soul, was a long-time WWE employee. The last time I saw him, he said, "Still best." He used to smoke and blow smoke in your face. "Still one of the best stories in WWE history. Jericho versus Michaels." Thanks, Jack. So I really am proud of that, and it culminated in a main event pay-per-view match for the WWE World title. And it started as just a one-off throwaway match. Well, that should be a good match, Jericho, Michaels, you know. That became, like I said, this program for the title. And the reason why I really, really love that ladder match, and it started with the ladder match I had with Benoit years earlier at the Royal Rumble, is once again, you've seen a million, but at the time, there was Shawn and Razor, there was a couple others, and I remember sitting down with Chris and then with Shawn. How can we use this ladder as a weapon? Not climb it and do jumps off it. There's a place for that, but this is a ladder. What can we do to utilize this in the way that it should be used, which is as a a weapon of assault and battery. And the Benoit one worked so well, and so the Jericho Michaels one works so well because I remember just sitting there like, how about this? How about that? How about this? I just watched it back about a year ago, and I was like, this is a great match. It's a great ladder match. Maybe one of the greatest ladder matches of all time. But once again, there's a couple big bumps, but not many. Most of them are just me and him beating each other up with this ladder. And I remember, I always say, you've got to be careful with ladders. Why? Because they can bite you. How do you mean? The ladder is between the second and third rope. Shawn jumps on it. I am supposed to put my hand up and take it in the face. Problem is, hand doesn't come up quick enough. That thing hit me in the mouth, and guess what happens? You start spitting out chiclets. That's Canadian slang for teeth. And you're like, okay, there's a little gravelly thing. Okay, that's a little bit of my, okay, there's a big fucking tooth. And then you look, and once again, now I am Irish Pete with the Jim Carrey Dumb and Dumber tooth. And I remember, like, it hurt so bad. But here's the sign of a true pro. You got to go to the dentist and get that fixed. I'm like, not before Raw. No, we're getting this on TV. If I snap my tooth in half and look like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber, I'm going to show this to millions of people before I get it fixed. And that's what we did. So, once again, anytime somebody gets hurt in a classic match, you never want that. But when something like that happens, someone gets cut, for example, and there was no blood intended, but the blood is there, it just adds to the intensity of the overall vibe of the match. And having broken teeth and looking up and having blood come down, there's blood in my nose, and then we had still one of my all-time favorite ladder match finishes, one you never see. It's always some guy gets a bump, other guy climbs up and takes it off, whatever. We were fighting for the belt. My hand is on one strap, Shawn's hand is on the other strap. And I remember we were up there like, how far back can you lean on this ladder holding on? And it's like, okay, it's not slipping out of my hand. Okay, and he's right back. So if one of us just went like this, the other guy would fall. So we're holding it, and the idea was I would like slam the belt in his face. He falls down. I get the belt. And still, to me, I've never seen a ladder match with that finish. And that's the hardest thing about ladder matches this day. What can you do that's never been done before? And when you can come up with something like that, which is, to me, such a smart, common sense finish. So all of those things add to the fact that this was a classic match for me. And then the icing on the cake was the theme for the pay-per-view that month was All Nightmare Long by Metallica. So I was in a main event for a ladder match for the world title with my boyhood hero, with my favorite band of all time, doing the theme song. Go your ass.